What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. It's been a while since we played Survival Craft. This isn't going to be an Let's Play episode. I'm going to be covering seasons, everything you need to know, some weird quirks, and, of course, talking about the werewolves being able to open doors. So, in the new Survival Craft 2.4 update, there are now 4 seasons in the game. This is what summer looks like. It doesn't look much different, apart from the normal terrain. Summer is the equivalent of the 2.3 temperature system, so all of the climates are the same as 2.3 if it's in the summer. There's, of course, the new trees and the new leaf textures, but summer is overall the same. Cold areas are still cold, but the warm areas are, of course, still as they should be. They're still warm. Now, this is the game set to around early autumn. As you can see, the trees, the leaves, they start to turn more yellow, orange, and eventually the trees will actually lose their leaves. However, trees in colder climates such as this, they still retain their normal leaves. They don't ever change. And the cold climates are still cold as usual, but if you look closely at the water, you can see that it is colder in these areas. Grave there. You can actually see the gradient changing right here. This would probably be a bit more green. Of course, it is close to a colder biome, but you can see the change in the color of the grass. See, like right here, almost like a perfect example, is much colder here despite there being an oak tree. Oak trees live in the warmer. You can see here's some of the orange. If you hit these leaves, they actually turn into winter leaves, and the leaves will fall on the ground here. This doesn't really do anything. It's just to make the world feel more real and immersive. You'll get to see winter poplar leaves from these new poplar trees, which were added in the same 2.4 update. This is what the world looks like when it's set to winter. As you can see, all of the warmer tree types have no more leaves. Snow is covering the ground everywhere. The water is starting to freeze. And all the leaves from the trees, you can see it's on the ground there. Those will disappear in the fall, though. Or not fall, sorry, the spring. And if you look around, there are still some areas that aren't frozen or are starting to freeze. You can see the difference in temperature based on the gradient of the water here. But yeah, if you saw that in the corner, yeah, see the water freezing everywhere. And it will snow no matter where you are in the world. Even if you have the temperature set to plus 16, winter will always be this cold no matter where you are. That could be something that they change later. Maybe making deserts not as cold, although it will snow in deserts. It will actually be colder in deserts, believe it or not. But in all of the colder biomes, it's generally the same. It's still snowing. And another new thing that was added, they added fog into the game. When you're in fog, it's very hard to see, but you can be above the fog or below the fog. This is what spring looks like. It does look significantly cooler, but this is, I think, somewhat early spring. All the leaves have a different texture. Birch leaves now also use this exact same texture, but all the leaves across the board, I think, will use this texture. The cold areas, of course, still cold. Water is melted. Snow has also melted. No more leaves on the ground. But the colder biomes, again, relatively the same. You'll get, these are the spring leaves. If you hit these, they won't drop. They won't have the leaves fall. They'll just drop their block. Spring oak leaves. And of course, when it is summer again, as you can see, everything is much more lush green. It's much warm. The fish also survive during the winter, so they won't suffocate in ice, and you'll still see fish swimming around everywhere. The cold areas, of course, are still cold, but some of the warmer, like as you can see, this spruce forest, this portion, it had snow on the ground on the trees, but this is only if you go further into the colder region, you'll see there's still some snow left over there. There's still some snow left because those areas are colder. So all of the mildly cool areas, they won't have snow unless it's autumn or spring. And the lush, tropical, grassy fields and forests, they'll be much warmer as opposed to the other seasons. But let's be honest, this was pretty self-explanatory. Once it does hit autumn, or spring, you'll notice much more participation and fog in the world. I guess because it rains much more in the spring. April showers bring May flowers, and the fog, it was originally called autumn fog. If you look at Kaalus's video on YouTube, it says autumn fog. So there's much more fog in autumn. I'm not a real word expert on weather, but I suppose this was done for realism. Now, in these colder seasons like autumn and winter, growing crops will be significantly slower. Let me just plant some. We'll do pumpkin. We'll do pumpkin seeds. And I'm going to make a time lapse of these growing. Okay, as you guys saw, that took a while. I'll probably have to speed that up a considerable amount. This one didn't grow, which is unfortunate, but this one took around 40-ish minutes to grow in the winter season. As opposed to summer, this would grow much, much faster, usually within a couple of in-game days. Now, if we go back to the middle of winter, we can see that, generally speaking, these colder areas aren't any different. Even though they may look the same, climate-wise, the snow, the frozen water, even the animals that spawn, these areas are different. They are actually slightly colder than they already were. Now, this is something that you wouldn't really notice if you're tending to try and survive in warmer climates, but they do get slightly colder. It's just a very small and negligible amount. Hey, Editing Lewis here. So, I didn't get very specific what I mean by it's slightly colder, it's negligible. It actually does make somewhat of a difference. It can make the difference between needing an extra layer of clothing or not. Generally speaking, though, it is quite small, but you will notice it if you're running around the world and you suddenly get colder, even though you haven't taken off any clothing. The default length of the seasons will always be 24 days, but you can increase it even when playing in survival game modes, or you can even decrease it. The minimum is 8 days, so 2 days per season, and the maximum is 96. The last change to talk about is with werewolves. Now, in a most recent update, it was said that they are able to open doors. You can see in the video that Kaalus posted, which I will link in the description. And if I were to make him mad and go in here, he will open the door. He just needs to come into contact with the door. And as you can see, he opened it by closing on him. And rush back in. There we go. He opens the door. He keeps opening and closing the door. But if I go into my creative inventory and use an iron door, he won't be able to open the door. They can open wooden doors, but not iron doors. And they also can only do this in challenging, and I guess creative mode. So, for all you survivors out there, if you're playing on challenging or cruel, Watch out for these werewolves, 'cause they'll open your wooden doors. I also wanted to test if they can open, they can open cell doors as well, so cell doors aren't good enough. You need iron doors. So keep in mind, this does also go for buttons and switches. If I were to make this guy mad, he comes over here, I close this. If he manages to interact with the button, he should open it. There we go. Even though it's an iron door, because of the electric wiring, he's able to open it with the button. And this would, of course, go for wooden doors, cell doors as well, although they would probably just open the door manually. But anyways, that's going to cover the Survivalcraft 2.4 update. I hope you learned some things. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next video and or live stream. See ya.